Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Sorry, it's been a long time. I had a little holiday in Spain, yay! And then when I got back, I had COVID, yay! Being the typical strong man, it absolutely wiped me out and I was in bed for a while, but back on it. So let's go and have a look at the job we got to do today, which is a Renault Clio 182. It's not just any normal 182 though, it's a trophy edition, it's proper rare. So Dreamcar Giveaways own this car. Pretty much as soon as I give it them back, they're going to put it on their competition site. So if it's a car you'd love to win, it's definitely worth a go on it. They now do an app that you can download that notifies you when cars come on, so it's worth getting that as well. So the Clio 182 trophy, they only did 500 of these, and this is number 480 of 500. It's funny, if you go on howmanyleft.com, you can see that there's only 245 of those 500 left on the road at the moment. 160 of them are sawn and off the road. And then if you look back, you can see within the first 3 months of when they came out, there's already 8 that are sawn and off the road. So there's either 8 very rich people that have bought one, stuck it in a garage, kept it off the road, or there's 8 people that pulled off the forecourt, yanked on the handbrake and was like, yeah, look at this, just crashed the thing. So yeah, there just ain't many of these left on the road. It's real rare if you do see one out and about. So being the trophy, they come with the uprated suspension, Recaro seats which do wrap around you nice, and they are comfy. Feels real snug in there, and they only came in the red. So Dreamcar Giveaways, they saw my last Clio video and they want to stick a nice car on their competition site. They want to know it's reliable, so they want me to do a Cambelt kit, mint, and an oil and filter. There are some other things I've noticed when I was reversing it in. I can kind of feel the engine vibration through the floor, so I don't know if the exhaust is touching the body on the way down or something. When you look at the back, it's got a Scorpion stainless system on it and it's just not straight, which is one of my big gripes. So I'm going to have a go while I'm there at straightening that out, make that look good. So without further ado, let's get it on the ramp and let's crack on. So I was just about to get it on the ramp and I thought I'd show you this. Look how much Rake Renault put on the trophy. I'm sure my standard 182 hasn't got that. I think it's positive Rake, it's positive or negative. I'm sure positive where the front end is lower than the back. It usually gives you better handling, but less of a top end, but I suppose you want the handling on this. Old kit cars I used to do, I'd always set the back end 16 mil higher than the front, but this is massive. It's probably like 40, 45 millimeters higher on the back. But yeah, I suppose they just wanted it to really handle well. So let's get it up in the air. So I think we'll start by doing the longest job first, which is the Cambelt. I got the new kit over here on the box. Let's go and have a look at it. So with a car of this value, I'm not going to scrimp and save and buy a cheap Cambelt kit. Gone for the genuine Renault stuff. Also, while we're there, we're going to be doing the Dephaser pulley. We've got our Cambelt kit and all the tensioners and rollers. Got our timing pin kit and the water pump. And then still my favourite shaped gasket. Have a look at that. So let's get cracking. This Cambelt is actually quite easy to do once you've got all the stuff out of the way. It's just in there so tight. So first we're going to start by taking off the wheel and taking that inner arch liner off, and then we'll get it up in the air and get the under tray off and slide in the jack. The jack's going to be there just so we can lift that engine up and down just to get into all the different bits. So we'll let the car down, being super careful that the jack doesn't get in the way, and then we're into the engine bay. We've got to get that top strut brace off so we can lift this engine out. And then we're just going to take off this front engine cover so we can get to that oil filter and the crank locking pin easier. Then it's one bolt out the middle of the engine mount, and we've got to jack that engine up so we can get to all the top covers. And then once the engine's lifted out the way, we can take off the 4 bolts on this engine mount, and it comes out. And when I was undoing this, I noticed, let me lick my dirty finger and wipe the sticker, why we've got that sort of, I thought it was the exhaust knocking the tunnel, why we've got that vibration through the car. It's actually got, I think that's called K-Tech Racing. Oh, K-Tech, yeah, I know them. I bought some brakes off them in the past. So that's an uprated engine mount. It has actually got rubber in it, but that is solid. So that's obviously why I'm feeling the vibrations of the engine through my butt in the seat. Right, let's carry on. Right, now's where it gets real tight. So pull the wiring loom out the way and then remove that inner engine mount. And then there's this stupid sound deadening piece of carpet thing that they wedge down there. That's a pain to get out. We'll do our super duper trick again with the alternator belt tensioner, where we put that Jubilee clip round it and tighten it up. We can pull on the belt as we're tightening, and then it's just easier to get the belt back on after. Then tuck the fuel pipe out the way and take the upper alternator mount off, and then it's the upper main cam belt cover. Going around the other side, we'll pull the airbox off and then take the throttle body off, and then we can see our cam caps. Those are what our cam locking tool are going to go into, so we've got to get those covers off. Then we'll turn it over until it's close. They've just got to be both flat. And then we can take this bolt out down here that's right down the front of the engine, so we can get our crank locking pin in. Okay, we're ready to put the timing pins in. I've turned the engine round so the cams are pretty close to where they need to be. On this, the cutout's off center, so you need the larger bit of the cutout on top, a little bit on the bottom, and then that should be close. So this crank pin is just a pin basically, and you've got a cutout in the crank web, and as we turn it, it's going to just click in. It makes a lovely sound, a bit like this. There we go, we're in. So now that's in, let's put our cam locker on. There we go, and then we'll just put a little securing bolt in there, just so this thing's not going to fall off on its own. Done. Luckily for us, this Dephaser pulley isn't knackered, it wasn't noisy, so everything's lined up nice. I think if you ever get one where the Dephaser pulley is knackered, you'll probably find the exhaust cam will be nice and it'll match up with the crank, but the Dephaser will be off. So in that case, what I would do is pin the crank, lock the one side of the exhaust pulley, and then take the belt off and then move the Dephaser round, so then that then fits in. It's only if it's really knackered that's going to happen, but yeah, hopefully not for most of you out there. So now we'll carry on, we'll get this bottom pulley off. Once that bottom pulley's off, we can then undo the water pump pulley and get that off. We're going to jack the engine back up and undo that tensioner. This is where it gets a bit tight now. Usually I can get the bottom cam belt cover off, but because these engine mounts are so tight, I can't push the engine across enough to get it out, so we're going to have to leave it in there while we take these tensioner and the other guide pulley off, and then we'll slip the belt up. Now we can get that bottom cover off, and then the rest of the pulleys. Then is the messy job of undoing all the bolts on the water pump and pulling that water pump away to let that old coolant drain out. And then the final bit to get off is our Dephaser pulley. You can actually see in this one, if I give it a wiggle, there is a little bit of play in it. Now, it's not bad. I wouldn't say that's knackered at the moment, but you got to remember this belt has got to do 70 or 80,000 miles yet on that. So by the time the next belt's due, it's going to be mega knackered. So definitely worth changing it while we've gone to this extent, getting it off. The Dephaser itself is easy to take off. It's just the middle nut, which is a 14 Allen key. Once that's off, It's then an 18mm, if I can get it on the thing, there we go, in the middle, which is quite tight. The thing to not do on this, I think, is them blooming battery ratchet guns. You've got to remember the back of the cam, where that's locked in is so thin, you rattle it, you're just going to snap that off. So try and do it by hand. Worst case, get a pair of the big pipe grips, just gently put them on the aluminium piece of the dephaser to get it off, not on the new one obviously, and it will just hold it still. And there we go, that's our last piece of the puzzle, covered in oil. Oh, it's dripping. So it's a fiddly job, but it's not hard. It's, you know, a bit worrying, but if you've got the pins and you put it back together and the pins still fit, it's going to be fine at the end of the day. So basically, got to do everything in reverse order. I'm going to Stanley blade off the gasket where the water pump was, make sure that's nice and clean so we get a good seal. And yeah, just go around cleaning as I'm going, putting it all back together, and job's a good one. Car will be back going. Let's get it back together. Okay, we're well on our way back to getting a running Clio. I've managed to get the water pump on, we've got our dephaser on, the Cambelt and the tensioner. I thought I'd pause it and show you the tensioner. So Renault and most other manufacturers now, to be honest, give you little guide marks on the tensioner so you don't over tighten the belt. Years ago, you had to like twist the belt to make sure it was tight, or you had a little machine, because if it's too tight, it will make a kind of a whistling noise. If it's too loose, it will rattle against the casing. That's not what you want. So if you look here on the tensioner, you can see these two marks. And basically, when you turn this Allen key clockwise with the belt on, those two marks line up, and then it looks a bit like this. I've had to take a photo because you can't get the camera in there. So once those two marks are lined up, you just know it's the correct tightness. It takes all the worry out of it. And yeah, it was a good idea. Whoever designed that, ideal. Let's continue getting our engine back together. So doing this Cambelt on the 182, what 3 tips would I give you guys out there? Probably tip number 1 would be always put a wooden block on top of the jack. The sumps are real weak on these. If you put the metal head of that jack too hard into that sump, it will crack it. So that's a good tip. I think tip number 2 would be to use genuine parts. You can get other cheaper parts out there, but for the saving of probably 50 quid, it's easier to just get genuine ones. I get all mine off eBay. There's a seller on there called Johnny Boy 1. It's cheap, it's genuine. You send him in the message, the reg of your car, and he makes sure the parts are correct for your car. And they come out next day, which is a bonus. The last tip, tip number 3, would be just relax. Chill out, take your time on this Cambelt. It's hard, it's tight, but it's not a race. So relax into it, enjoy it, and the job will just be much better. And that's it. Our Cambelt job is complete. The exhaust, while it was up in the air, just gave it a little tweak. It sorted that out. So at the end of the day, our vibration was just because it's got these solid engine mounts on it. The standard ones do flap about a bit. So what's the cost of this job? As you saw in the picture, the parts are £245, which is cheap for genuine parts really on a car this expensive. Labour wise, you could do it in 5 hours easy. I've got the benefit of having a lift here, so that makes it a bit easier, but unless something's really seized, it's not a hard job really. So say labour would be £45 an hour, which I am here at 5 hours, so you've got about the same as the parts, plus a bit of antifreeze. You're doing this job for about 500 quid really. So now the car's all finished and ready, it's going to go straight back to Dreamcar Giveaways, and they've told me they're going to put it on next Wednesday. So Wednesday, May the 3rd, it's going to be a low odds competition. So the ticket prices are going to be slightly higher, but you've got a better chance of winning it. Unfortunately, I can't win it, I can't enter, which is a shame, because I would love this sat in my garage at home. I'll put a link up here to the Dreamcar Giveaways YouTube channel. You can go through that. My favourite is obviously the chap that won my Mark 1 Escort. He won that car, 2 tickets. He paid 20 quid for that car. You can't get better than that. And also, if you realise there's been no adverts during this video, that deserves a like from me. I hate YouTube channels now that put an advert after like a minute and a half. You get like 2 30-second adverts a minute and a half into a video. That absolutely sucks. So yeah, this is just a walkthrough of Dephaser. What better car to do it on than a Renault Clio 182 trophy. So that's it from me. I'll see you on the next one. Ta-da!